Sweet. Hail, welcome to Season 3, Episode 6 of ARC. This episode is called A New Look is Coming. And let's jump in it. So, previously on ARC, basically, here's a recap of the seasons at a very high level. So, Season 1 was all about ideation. So we launched the synthetic backed stablecoins and went through the notions of it all. And ultimately, we ended up stumbling into on-chain identity through Know Your Farmer, effectively. So we then started discovering on-chain identity through the DeFi passport and a bunch of other things through the credit score, etc. And once we basically figured out like this is the direction we want to go in, it was then basically going into validation with launching. So I'll add here we launched Passport 1.0 as well, but essentially the idea is that now it's like validating a lot of these things and launching it to the market. And once we launch these things, it's then scaling them out. So we want to run with this format because it just makes things more interesting in our view, and we want this to feel more fun rather than just like regular community update calls that you somewhat tune into. So that's at a high level why we're going to start using this terminology. And yeah, anyway, let's jump into it. So we hit about, actually, I think it's 2K in skin sales, so about 11K all up in revenue this week. And in terms of total issued passports, we're just over 1,300. We had an increase of about 40 from last week, which was nice to see. In terms of weekly summary, so the key points from last week. So we shipped Passport 2.0, which is really big, and I'm going to launch a blog post explaining what Passport 2.0 is, but essentially it is the infrastructure that allows custom scoring to take place. So this is really the thing that enables this vision of like true on-chain reputation becoming real. So I'll be writing a blog post as stated in the points of this week about like explaining it and how like it can be useful for our partners and whatnot. Second thing is we made the Uniswap V3 pool much deeper, so now we've got about plus or minus 2 slippage on $100,000 orders. We extended 2 offers for the machine learning role, so now that we're done with hiring on the ML side, that's really promising. Yeah, honestly, such a massive relief. And we announced Passport.js and what it is, so that blog post covers the basics of like why this is important into kind of enabling us as this like true cross-chain identity protocol. So key points for this week. We're launching the new UI plus the rebrand. And hence this episode is called A New Look. So that'll be really exciting. I mean, the new UI is already like somewhat live, but it's not. We had to do it because we had to include in Passport 2.0, and there are some complications there. So in the future, we're actually going to have more proper releases, but this was more a result of circumstances. The next major thing that we're working on is enabling cross-chain infrastructure. So this is going to be really, really exciting because it means that claiming DeFi passports will be cheap, but also if you have a passport on Ethereum and your reputation scores on Ethereum, they're not immediately available on another chain, which is really kind of this vision that people have had in the crypto space for ages and will really be making it real. So that's going to be super exciting. Second is we're going to be announcing what Passport 2.0 is and what it enables. So I think I already covered that. But yeah, that's at a very high level this week. In terms of shout outs to Kyle and Alex for their work on the back end. As we rolled over to Passport 2.0, that was really smooth. We had good monitoring. We had really solid tests. So that was great to see. And in addition, shout out to Clean Cuts. He's not here, but he's our new community manager who's also covering the Asia Pacific time zone. So he's been really active and great. So shout out to him whenever he sees this. Challenges we're working through, just focusing in on communications and marketing. So there's just a bunch of process stuff. And now that we're scaling up more on that side, there's just a bit of chaos that we are learning to tame. So all part of the challenges while scaling. And now that we've hired the data/ML team, it's now kind of establishing that and getting that team really up and running. I mean, it's really small before it. It's like when I say getting up, it's getting up at scale. So we've got people joining in over the next few weeks, which is going to be really cool to see. So that's it on my end. I will pass it to Kyle on engineering.
Thanks, Kerman. Yeah, so last week was a big week. Lots of stuff happened. So the biggest point, it was we shipped 2.0. That allows for all the custom scoring, like Herman said. It was very flawless. We were expecting a little bit more fires, but I think because we covered good testing in the previous weeks when we had like fires from Passport 1.0, it kind of saved us this time. So we had monitoring up in place. We found things before they actually hit production, so no major fires there. We did have to also, so we also included the new UI for the skin, so it's not completely there, but a part of it is there. And we have more coming also this week. We needed to do that because of we had development going on at the same time, and it would have been more of an effort to try to cherry pick only the things that we needed. So we just we got to a stable point with the front end, and then we pushed it. There's still like a few little bugs here and there that maybe probably squashed out tomorrow with the hotfix. But yeah, also we started integrating Passport.js with our WebGL component. So that's really cool. What that means is in the future, you'll be able to interact with your passport. So on the UI, you'll be able to click and spin it and like look behind it and do everything with the mouse. So it'll be interactable. So that's really cool, and that's coming. So key points for this week. Like I said, we want to fix and improve the UI. We still have a few screens that are not yet implemented, but the majority, like the general theme is there. We also have some 2.0 integrations already in our pipeline. We have some partners that are already like, yep, we're ready to go. Let's get Passport 2.0 go. Let's get custom scoring in, which is awesome. And that also includes integrations with the data team. So Kale and I are working together to get more and more scores in there as well. So we're moving into the development phase of cross-chain. So we did some planning last week. We're doing more planning this week, but we're going to start to write some code this week. There's a lot of things that we got to consider. And lastly, we also want to plan out a status page. So we want to throw out a page under our domain, so under status.arcx.money, and that status page will show us, everything that's operational. If ever like there's a server that's down, there's a contract that's low on gas, anything. So we'll be planning that out this week as well. So shout out to Clean Cuts. So welcome. For when he sees this, it's been great to see him engage with the community. So challenges that we're working through. There's a lot of gotchas with cross-chain. Talking with the community as well. Like some people are saying, maybe you can claim your passport on one chain, do something on a different chain, and then there's a whole discussion of, is it possible to put up collateral on one chain and then use it on another chain? Like there's a whole wide variety of options that opens up to us, and we just need to figure out what's the best way for us to, put all these pieces together. We want to keep working with the community with bugs. So there's still a small little bug related to staking that one or two users are having. So we want to fix that out as well. I think we almost did, but like I said, we just want to be more proactive on the bugs with the communities. Yeah, also connecting with the data team, like I said. So credit scores inbound, we're getting really close. That's really exciting. So actually on that note, yeah, I'll pass it off to Kale.
Cool. Over to you.
Awesome. Hello everyone. So key points from last week. Thank God that hiring is done. We've extended our third full-time offer. So Diego will be joining the team. So that would put the data and ML team at 5, myself included. So that's good. Looking to scale, which is nice. It's always fun doing those kinds of things. There was performance issues on the credit scoring model. That was corrected. I was doing some onboarding of the first couple hires. So that was some work that needed to be done. And then miscellaneous bug fixes. Key points for this week. So you would have heard Kyle and Kerman talking about cross-chain. There's a lot of work under the hood on my end to do with that, to actually get all the transactions and look at them and set up all the eligibility and things like that. So that'll be a big key point for this week. Continued risk modeling. I just want to really get those risk parameters perfect by the time we go live. And then a more exciting update is that Gabe, our first hire for the ML engineering position, starts this week. So finally, I'll have some help helping me with some of the engineering and modeling side of things. Big shout out to Kyle. So Kyle and I did a pair programming session the other day. He was teaching me TypeScript. I come from a Python world, so it was always fun jumping across and learning how things are done in the true web development world, unlike us hacks in the ML space. And then another big shout out to Kerman for helping me with juggling my priorities. There's a lot of balls in the air at the moment. So just having someone there to go, like, here's all your threads, pull them together, just work on this and this. And it's just nice having someone on your side helping you. The challenges we're working through. So the biggest one, back to that idea of juggling, is just doing fewer things simultaneously. I've got this terrible habit of trying to run a lot of things concurrently, and all it does is it just makes everything move slower. So one big thing is starting to just truncate all these unessentials and focus on the core stuff and deliver those. And in a similar vein, one challenge I want to work through is just better communication both within and outside of the DAO. I've been working kind of just somewhat autonomously and doing things, and I know that I'm doing not too well of a job communicating with the web and contract side of ARCx, and then also outside of ARCx. So I want to start focusing more and more on that, make sure I'm sharing more things with the community, answering questions in the community, that kind of jazz. So they're the big things for me at the moment. So thanks, Kerman. I think the next one is Mike.
Cool.
Morning, afternoon, evening, all. So key points from me last week, mostly business as usual. So started off with the cyber skin release. Again, unfortunately, we only were able to sell 2. We're going to be slowing down the skin sales at the moment and just reassessing the strategy and seeing what we can do to bolster demand for the skins. Outside of that, the ARCx engineering updates and community updates went out this week. Hat tip to Gabe and Clean Cuts. Clean Cuts coming in, helping out straight away and starting to produce some content, which was awesome. I also believe John helped ship some of the components of that community update as well. So if he listens back to this, thank you very much. Working with a lot of integration partners to finalize the collateral. That's been largely the story of this week and last week between myself and Liam. Just working with them to get feedback on the skins and making sure everything looks good and everything's ready to go. And then lastly, the passport.js release blog went out, which is really great. Got pretty good reception on Twitter. I think people are starting to see the vision of the passport integration with a bunch of different applications and essentially where this can play out, which is good to see. Key points for this week, as I mentioned, just largely working on finalizing the integration collateral. And as Kerman touched on earlier, we're going to be doing a rebrand and an updated UI rollout. So everybody will be seeing a new ARCx logo pretty soon, which is exciting. Shout out to somebody who's helped me, again, Liam, just helping me organize all these integration requirements. There's a lot of different requirements from different parties, and it's just good to have somebody sort of being the middleman in between that and myself. And finally, goals we're working towards, as I mentioned earlier, just slowing down on the skin mints, focusing on delivering value to passport holders, and then driving interest to the skins by creating valuable partnerships. And that is me. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks. Over to you, Liam.
Hey, thanks for that, Mike. So what happened last week? So great, like potentially secured a multi-chain deal. So there's the alpha leak for today, and then targeting like a late October, so roughly. Had another 3 partner meetings, and then began what I'm calling the second integration wave. So essentially, we've extended some of these capabilities out now. That our engineering team has shared, and then it's like, how do I, how do we, because there's documentation and things as well, kind of extend that out into the market and find different points to integrate and new areas to essentially give value to our passport users. So that's the second wave, and there's been a lot of learnings around the BD process that is going to make this second wave a lot smoother as well, because we've got things a little bit more streamlined. And we also welcomed our new community manager, Clean Cuts. I'm so excited for Clean Cuts. So he's also got he's fluent in Mandarin. So a lot of people who are in the ARCx community may have seen sort of this real uptake in the Chinese community and sort of various Telegram groups spawning that we don't really have too much bandwidth to understand and cover. So I'm really excited for that component of Clean Cuts coming on board as well, to kind of give us some optics and insights into the Chinese community, making sure that we're being able to be inclusive of all languages in terms of the feedback and process and to understand our users. So I think that's just awesome. So we're going to be announcing an integration with eSign. We're going to be finalizing 2 more announcement dates as well for this for some of our first wave partners, and yeah, building a new integrations funnel around Passport.js. And there's some new things we're going to be adding to the developer docs that will coincide with the Passport 2.0 or custom scores Substack that Kerman's driving this week rather. And yeah, and I'm also launching a community referral program mid this week. So really, this is going to be an opportunity if you're in the community to essentially earn referral bounties. So I've got like a list of different projects that we don't have existing relationships into. So there'll be a bounty program for warm referrals. If they decide to integrate, there'll be some ARCx heading to your designated Ethereum wallet, which will be awesome. So more details to share there soon. And then, yeah, in terms of a shout out to someone who's helped me clean cuts, like I hope you watch this and see all the praise coming your way. Like super helpful to have you on board now. It's just, I think Kale mentioned it earlier about juggling balls and just like the banes of context switching. This is a huge help to have you on board and to have somebody that's just dedicated and focused and enthusiastic for this. Goals we're working on, 40 integrations by December 2021. I'm still holding myself to that. That's like there's a lot of growth coming. I'm very much laser focused on that. And then yeah, opening up the multi-chain market, opening up the multi-score market. That's where we're going to get a lot of scale in integrations. I'll quickly cover community as well, just very high level. So we already know community manager, AIP passed, and we're going to be redoing the snapshot process for votes. So ARCx will be included. But I mean, so AIP went through really successfully, though. We added the liquidity. It makes ARCx much more investable for whales and for people that are just putting a bid in. They're not going to move the price a lot. So investor update this week, community newsletter this week, and some ideating on some community skin campaigns happening as well. And big shout out to Knight Templar or John for helping onboard Clean Cuts, helping him understand how to do the community newsletter. So goals we're working towards, helping our Chinese community and improving our content processes. That's going to become more and more prominent, the content processes theme. So yeah, that's everything from me.
Cool, thanks for that, Liam. I think I'll also just spend a bit of time. I've been reading over the Discord recently, and just thought I'd provide a bit of context as to what we're doing. I mean, on-chain reputation is insane. Like, nobody's ever done this before, and it's insanely hard to actually execute this, given the components with data, the back end, creating the contracts, and the front end, and pulling it all together. So, just want to give a bit of a peek behind the curtain and just kind of let people know that there are all these components that we're working on, and it can sometimes look from the outside that it's when will there be utility and whatnot, but it's very non-linear the way this stuff works, because once you build all this infrastructure, you get the right people in place, you get the right code infrastructure, then you can build on that and pump things out a lot quicker, harder, and it's you now have unlocked this capability. So a lot of, if you guys have seen that chart of infrastructure apps in the context of blockchain, that's kind of how we're working internally as well, where there's this infrastructure we need to build, we build out, and then there are all these apps that we can enable or use cases. And it's a very kind of step function-like wave of how those two interplay with each other. So I guess it's, feel free to ask us questions about what those next phases look like, or if there's any more clarity we can provide there, because it's really exciting what's going on, but we also want to be cognizant that it's hard to understand all the nuances from the outside. So if there's any way that we can help share that or give a better understanding, let us know, and we'll focus in on that because that's something we want to focus in as part of like our better communication strategy. So anyway, that's about it on my end. I will catch everyone here around next week for season 3, episode 7. Catch you guys around. Bye.